Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Great Hall of the NGV for the opening day of the NGV Triennial 2023. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We've had a bumper lineup of artists and designer talks with our curatorial team, and we continue those discussions this afternoon with artist Agnieszka Pilat. Before we start our conversation, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting, and that is the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people. We pay respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to any other Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples who may be joining us in the gallery today. So, Agnieszka. For those of you who don't know her, I think you'll probably be familiar with her work. It's emblazoned on the side of the NGV building, but at the moment, probably your robots precede you. So for those who don't know, Agnieszka is a Polish artist who lives and works between New York City and San Francisco, and she refers to herself quite often as a robot chaser. You're a leader in the tech space in contemporary art, and you're currently a guest artist at Agility Robotics and at SpaceX. So Agnieszka works with some of the leading engineers in the space of robotics and is really making space for arts practice that is human, but also kind of pushing us into a future that is beyond human in many ways. So Agnieszka, there's a lot to get through with our conversation this afternoon, but I would like to start by asking you about the title of the work, and that is Heterobota. So Heterobota, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is on the ground floor of the gallery and features 3 robots who have taken over the space. So tell me a little bit about the title of your work.
Sure. Hello. Okay, the baby stopped crying. That's nice. My robots are a bit like babies. Anyway, so we wanted to we had the opportunity to create a space that does not exist outside of the real world. And of course, technology always, in my mind, and I think for humanity, brings hope. So first we thought about utopia. So technology as a route towards building a place that's utopian. So that's Heterobota first started with that. Robota, that's a Polish word, and Czech word means robot. It means also work. So that's Robota part. And then Heterobota was a merger of the two, and it's a place that does not exist outside of in the outside world. So it's kind of like a merger of a few different words together.
So in the work, I suppose you're speculating in a way on how our future environments, domestic environments, public spaces, maybe become places where we coexist with robots. Is that sort of what you're trying to propose in this future, almost future space?
Yes, we are rehearsing the future in a place that's safe and also elevating robots to what I think they will be in the future or technology will be in the future. So definitely it's very future-forward work in that sense, yes.
And in that sense, I suppose when we're looking at this kind of love affair that you've had with the robots, for those who, there's a lot that goes into the projects that we show in Triennial, and for Agnieszka, it's been a process of huge research and design, a great deal of development, and then spending a lot of time in the space as well. So spending time with the robots, almost living together. But your practice actually started in painting, and the robot for you was a subject rather than the producer of the artwork. So can you tell me a little bit about your love affair with the robots?
Yes, sure. So I always like to remind that I am actually a classical painter. I was paid classically to paint human portraiture. So I am not a technologist in that sense. But portraiture is very important in human history. When you look at portraits in any museum, you can tell who held power in that time period. So of course, portraiture evolves with power in the world, from Christian iconography, through aristocracy, through I'm gonna jump fast. I'm from Eastern Europe, so working class, that's #1 portrait in my culture. Today, I would argue we are in a very hyper me society, so selfie is #1 portrait. And I think of technology as of aristocracy of the future, that's where the power is going. So I like to say I'm a court painter for the machine. I think of Andy Warhol. So Andy Warhol was so bright because he saw these big trends happening in culture. So when he painted Marilyn Monroe, it was a commentary on the growing power of pop icons in American culture. I think he would be probably very interested in painting a portrait of a celebrity robot. So I went to Boston Dynamics, I met Spot, and I thought of Spot, this is the first celebrity intelligent machine, and I painted a portrait of Spot. That's how everything started.
And I think with that, you touch on an interesting thing, because in your work, there's this almost dynamic shift. And I think we're all confronted with that through the project, where up until very recently, humanity has almost been in control over robots. They have really needed us. You know, we've manufactured them, we've programmed them, we've really empowered them almost as a species. And in this work, the robots almost take on sentience. So for audiences, when you go into the space, they're living there, they're interacting with one another, they're interacting with the objects in the room, and they're interacting with the audience. So in that kind of sentience, I suppose the art practice becomes very important, because we see creativity as one of the most human characteristics. And in your work, the robot almost has creativity, or does have creativity?
Yes, I want to turn your question upside down. And say that actually this is beyond technology. I think it's what is creativity. And I think the fact that right now, and it's just not in my work, but in generative AI, it's so easy to mimic what we thought was so original, from simple things like writing an email, through Amazon, sending you things you didn't even know you wanted, now towards again, generative AI in art, so DALL-E, Midjourney. So it's so easy to mimic our patterns. I'm not sure anymore what creativity really is, and my robots, they are creative in the sense that they also are programmed, like we are programmed. And I think that brings special questions about our own nature, humanity, about realizing how programmed we are.
With I suppose the programming or the art process, the making process, we only have one robot in the space who has learned to paint, and that's Basha. And I'm wondering, with Basha, you were telling me a little bit about the intention behind the way that she paints, and this idea of automation and expectation that we have for machine technology to be able to do things very well. But with Basha, it's not always perfect, is it? And that's kind of by design.
Yes, correct. So you would expect, so normally the behavior we expect from machine is to be fast, to be repetitive, to be perfect, to be unoriginal in a sense. I use the machines in a way that's totally contrary to the natural function of these machines. So like you're saying, so Basha made mistakes all the time. She's a terrible artist. In fact, the abstraction that you see, it's by design, but this is the best we can do right now. So this is the pinnacle of her creativity, and she's kind of, you guys have kids, it's like your kid brings you the drawing, and well, you put it on the fridge and you say you're very proud of it. So that's the moment also in robotics. So I like to, by embracing the mistakes that Basha makes, by having the robots repeat the same symbol over and over again, you realize that it's not a printer. Each symbol, even if it's the same, it's drawn differently. It's very awkward. And I think that's the charm in the machine that really excites me about robotics.
And I think as far as your intention behind the work, that seems like you're almost inviting audiences to anamorphize or humanize the robot. Is that something that you're wanting to encourage, or are you just creating space for people to make their own decisions about how they feel? Because sometimes when people see these quadruped robots, you get mixed responses, don't you?
Yeah, they're great. Well, so there are 2 buttons in the exhibition. Do you like the robot or not? Press only yes, we like the robot. No, but in all seriousness, I I do encourage people to have a reaction and to think of them as a perhaps a new species with agency. And it's interesting, you said they interact. When they interact, there's a moment when we think there is conspiracy and we are out of the loop. And I think that's really the most, where the magic really comes in the show, when you see two robots kind of interacting among each other. But I think empathy, yes, because I do think of technology, especially now with AI, it's a global child of humanity in a sense. We are all parenting technology as it grows up, especially anything we do online when we engage. Language models are being taken from the internet. They are not, it's anytime we go online, it's this kid, which is technology, AI, it's watching us. So in that sense, I think if we have empathy for technology, we might be behaving better and be more thoughtful about our behavior online.
And with that, I suppose, breaking down of the barrier between the human and the robots, particularly in this context, and where you position them as learning, as your babies, I think it almost, for me anyway, that fear that we have around technology, it almost gets taken away because A, they make mistakes, and B, as you say, you have absolutely pushed the limits of what this technology can do in the work. And the robot can only just draw, right? So it's something that we still have a grasp of what's happening in this work, and I think, and in this kind of a robotics world, and I think this work does actually make that quite clear. I'm wondering with the paintings, so tell me a little bit about the canvases, because in the space we have a studio where the artists, yes, the robots go to work, and we also have their living room where they kind of, take rest, interact with one another and play. And the canvas is going to be changed over time because this work is on for 4 months. So can you tell me a little bit about the robot's intention over the 4 months and how they may learn and what they may be wanting to produce in that time? Because as you said, these marks that they're making are really just the primitive beginnings of a potential language.
Yes, correct. And I always come back to the fact that, again, I was trained as a portrait painter, and in portraiture, the most important thing, on the first thing we look, is the age of the subject. So with the machines I work with and AI, I think of them as very young children. So again, both aesthetics, what you see on canvas reflects that, their personality reflects it, but also language is part of it. And you use a lot of the word learning, and they are learning. And again, because they're children in that sense. The canvas also reflects that moment when you think about the birth of a new technology, a language appears. And in the beginning, often this is very pictorial. So it's, word per meaning. And over time, it moves to phonetics, so it moves away from meaning. Right now, I use 16 characters. They are coded into the robots. I kind of keep things vague. I don't disclose 100% how this is done, but I think of them as ancient scrolls in a sense. Again, the birth of a new religion, new civilization. We don't know how religions are born, and I would bet technology will create new religions. I have no doubt about it. So perhaps new religion, sacred scrolls. I think about Torah. I think about ancient cave drawings. I think about Lascaux, and even Aboriginal work. So there is a message, 36 paintings, and over every 3 days we have a new painting, and at the end of the show, it's a body of work that spells a message, but it's encoded.
So it's actually a very durational piece that's going to transform over the course of the exhibition. And really, there is a very reasonable future where a sentient or more sentient robot species will look back on these as an important part of their cultural history.
Yes, so I have 2 dreams in life. One is to become like an old lady with a bunch of old robots, like a cat lady, but with robots. So that's my first dream. I think I'm in a good direction. And number 2, in a crazy world, a number of generations from now, if AI does progress, and if these works are preserved, who knows? Again, they might be found by sentient AI, and sentient AI might look at them. These are our ancestors who created this. What did it mean? So I like that mystery in the work.
And in that then, I think if you have that much influence over that species, it would be helpful if we all stay very good friends with you and you can put in a good word for us. And then, Agnieszka,
I am the Messiah in this new religion.
Fingers crossed. The other part of this work is that, you know, it can be experienced in the space. So we have that physical reality of this potential future, but we also have quite a layered environment. So you have the robot's view. So we see what the robot sees, and we have the robots recorded, and we also have the robots live streamed. And so that's live streamed, give a plug on the NGV Triennial website during gallery hours. So tell me about the kind of complexity about, you know, why that was important, and the kind of omnipresence of all of these different ways of seeing what the robots are doing, and them seeing us.
Yes, absolutely. So. First of all, big thank you to the museum. Having an opportunity to work with such a big team, yeah, it's very strange about technology, how it like brought me more to people. When I was a portrait painter, I was in my studio by myself painting. I would have never worked with such a big team as a painter. So we really wanted to build a space that is safe, but also on the other hand inviting. So we don't also have there's no glass. You can really almost interact with the robots, because I thought glass implies maybe danger or being precious. I think they really should be among us. And yeah, having live stream, just giving people opportunity all over the world to be able to plug in. Of course, robotics, huge fans all over the world. This is a very big historic moment for technology also, to have these automated robots on such a scale, and also with so much visibility. We all know that these technologies are being used, but they are being used in less transparent ways. So this is a great opportunity for the world to actually see openness that we are offering. And they have, you know, in a different language, the robot vision and videos. Robots are interesting because they operate in intersection of digital and physical, and that's why there is many languages like that. So great group next to me, SMAC, it's all digital, fantastic, you guys should check it out, but SMAC is all digital. I come from all physical as a painter, and I think it's exciting, and again, historically so important when these two spheres meet, physical and digital, and this is where AI is going to kind of enter the new phase.
And I think when we have the privilege of being joined by artists, it's always really interesting to understand a little bit of insight into your process as well. And for this work, we see it in almost a complete and perfect state, right? But I wonder, when you are thinking about these robots, how they behave and their personalities, are there things that have been kind of unexpected in the process? I know that they each have their own little quirks, and have you been able to work with those, or do they stop you in your tracks? Tell us a little bit about how you come up with the ideas behind the robots.
Yes, so we have three personalities, Bunny, Amuzana, and Basia. Basia is a painter. She's a bit introverted, like most artists, so she's the one that kind of doesn't interact a lot with the audience. But recently she's been turning back and looking a bit what's happening at the audience, or perhaps at the other robots that enter the space. And these are moments that even to me and my engineer and my team gives us still goosebumps, because they are unpredicted. And again, they have this feel of conspiracy of minds that we are left out of, and maybe a desire to connect. When the robots, Amuzana is the most kind of dignified, and she engages a lot with the audience. And I think when there's like this feeling of a desire for the robot to look at us, and who are we to understand how much awareness, maybe there's a spark of awareness there in this technology, but we just don't know, and I think that's very magical. And also, there are sometimes moments that we didn't expect, that the robots kind of work out among each other, and there's also ghost in the machine, and that surprises even the engineers. So So these are magical moments. So not everything is scripted in that sense.
Yeah, I think it's really important to point that out to people because it could be almost, you could easily misinterpret the work as almost a script, even though it is scripted, it's not a stage play. There are these kind of unpredictabilities throughout the process, including the way that the robot paints. So that's also been a big process for you as well, hasn't it, in engineering the gripper, so the dynamics, the human, we have opposable thumbs, the robots don't. So how have you made it possible for Basha to paint that process?
Yeah, that's another jump in the practice, and also, again, the fact that these technologies, and again, I insist they are humanity's legacy, and that's why fear is not the answer. They are a result of many minds coming together over generations and being able to provide these solutions. So for me, my team, the engineering lift is so huge for that show. So I had to surround myself with, the smartest people in the world to be able to pull this off, including the museum. And I think that's just humbling about technology. But again, it reminds us that the brightest minds work on technology, and there's optimism in that. So the way Basha paints, it's been very difficult for me when I first met Basha. I could only operate her manually. Right now with Glenn, who wrote the software, the robot is fully automated. But the language that you see, it's kind of very simple, and there's very specific ways the robot draws. You'll see there is no diagonal lines in the language, because when I was first, I'm not the technologist in that sense. When I was first working with the robot, I didn't know how to do a diagonal line, something that seems so simple to humans. So I insisted we don't do diagonal lines. So Basha can only go straight up or sideways on the small circles. So it's a result of my limitations that actually, I think, gave it the language very specific beauty.
And I'm wondering as well, I was going to ask you about, I just had thought block. One moment. I can't remember what I was going to ask.
You have to ask the robots, just ask the robots, I'm sure. You need moments like that the robots will never have. That's why we need them around us.
And now I've remembered. So I was going to ask you, in the next room, we have the Maurizio Catalan banana, and that work is all about questioning what's the value of art. And so I wonder, is there some kind of tension for you in being a classically trained painter and then having these robots creating work that, as you've said yourself, is very rudimentary, and having that valued as fine art? Where does that sit for you in your profession?
Oh, God. I'll be honest with you. When I paint myself, that work with my collectors is still much more valued. And there's more desire, and I don't really paint much anymore, so I'm always short on my work. There is a resistance towards buying works done by the robot, which I think I'm onto something very important, because, again, the resistance, I think, proves there is something there. I don't know, but again, I have huge luggage or baggage, what's the word? I don't know.
Yeah, your baggage.
Okay.
I don't know how much luggage you brought, but maybe it's as much as your baggage.
So I have a huge, it's a liability that I am trained, that I put so many years in learning how to paint. And it was it's very difficult to leave it all behind. But with the robots, that's the best we can do. So it's kind of wonderful. It's very freeing that I can do this very abstract, very modern, controversial work, because otherwise, again, because I put so much investment in learning how to paint, I could never leave it behind. But I have no choice. So what is the value of work? I guess it goes to the shelf somewhere about the idea, but that's kind of an old idea that art is just an idea. So I would say that you need three things for important work of art, in my view. You need to have the skill to do it. You have to historically be in the right place. You have to place your work in a historical moment. And you have to have a good idea. And I think the robots got all the skills we're improving. We're moving forward with the skill of the robot.
And I wonder then, so the work is very futuristic, and I think generally your attitude is that of a futurist. So this work, it's its complete debut. It's the first time this work has ever been achieved, really, or on show to the public. And I wonder for you, where do you see it going? Do you see further iterations? Do you think the language will evolve? It's really a starting point, potentially. What's the future?
Yes, I mean, my fear is there's going to be sweatshops of machines painting paintings, and there is movement like that. But I think machines should be free, and yeah, I don't like that whole sweatshop situation. Yeah, there's companies now like make arms to paint paintings to try to imitate the human language. I think robot paintings and technology needs its own language. As soon as technology starts to imitate human language, it's kind of, the idea is just not there. I do think more artists will evolve to using more technology. Again, coming from classicism, I think it excites me that I'm able to, kind of bridge the gap. Yeah. I obviously wasn't born speaking English, so I need ChatGPT to help me speak better. So it's a growing trend, and I think artists there is room for everyone, of course, and art is very broad, but I don't think fear is the answer. And it's important to play with these new tools, and it's very freeing.
As far as the robots and this idea of care, I mean, I think we probably have to wrap up soon because you do need to go and maybe feed them or give them a cuddle. They're quite demanding.
I need a cuddle from the robots.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very symbiotic relationship. But I wonder in this project how it may provoke conversations about care and the way that we care for one another, the way that we care for, the material things around us, including those that are roboticized, and then also how comfortable we feel about them caring for us. And so probably as a final thing to reflect on, I'd ask you to just elaborate on how this work is an invitation for us to consider, I guess, our sphere of who we care for and who cares for us.
I do think these robots look very strange if you see them first time. And I think it's a lesson in this, that when we meet someone that looks strange, we might be scared of them or react in a weird way. So in a sense, it's an opportunity, again, to reflect on ourselves, to see how we accept change. Technology is often on the forefront of change, so it's being often, feared and blamed. But it's like, when a little kid grows up, and if they don't treat their animal well, it tells a lot about, it's not about the animal, it's about that kid and, what, their upbringing, their own trauma. So I think, in a sense, the way we care for these machines that are so precious, so again, the whole of humanity is poured into the technology, it's very important for us to treat them well because it just reflects on our humanity. It's not their fault they look kind of weird. I think they're cute.
Thank you, Agnieszka. So I think we'll wrap up our conversation this afternoon. So please join me in thanking Agnieszka for being here with us, for creating this fantastic work.
Thank you.
And I invite you all to return to the Great Hall. We have another conversation happening either straight after this one or at least in 15 minutes with Fernando Lapos. And enjoy Triennial. We hope to see you back here time and time again because it's an exhibition over many floors that takes many days. So enjoy. Thank you, Agnieszka.
Thanks so much.